Even though some would disagree, Eminem will go down as a hip-hop legend. But what most people don't realize is how Dr. Dre made one small change to Eminem's music, one tiny adjustment, and this is what helped turn Eminem from a failure into a superstar. But what did he do? What was the small change that Dr. Dre made? Well, the answer lies on the Slim Shady LP. Here you can find the unique formula Dr. Dre used to help Eminem's career take off. So today we're going to break down Eminem's music and analyze the production before and after Dr. Dre and what changes he made that helped Eminem become the legend he is today. So to fully understand this story, we need to start with where Eminem was before Dr. Dre, and the best place to look is on his first album, Infinite. Even though this is where it all started for Eminem, he viewed this album as a failure when it came out, as it only sold around 70 copies. And when you break down the production on this album, you start getting a sense of why this album failed to do what Eminem hoped. For example, let's take a listen to the lead track, Infinite.
My pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxing. A zaniac, the maniac in action.
Eminem himself has written about the song, saying that after it came out, his music was being compared to Nas and AZ. But he didn't want to be considered just a clone, he wanted his music to stand out. And part of what got in the way of Eminem's ability to stand out was his early production. For example, this beat starts off with this slowed down, stretched out layered jazz sample. And from here we start to see many traditional, well-explored boom bap ideas. For example, the sample gets filtered down. And then we have this tambourine pattern that comes in, which really makes this feel like a Lord Finesse beat. Now, while this is a great track listening back to it now, back in 1996 when this album came out, these production ideas just didn't help Eminem stand out and make the impact that he wanted. So Eminem was struggling at this time, but what you might not know is that Dr. Dre was also going through a hard time in his career at this exact same time.
The timing of this was so f***ing crazy. Both of us were in really bad situations.
So what led to Dr. Dre's struggles? Well, he just come off producing an album for The Firm, a group made up of Nas, AZ, Foxy Brown, and Nature, and when this album came out, it was considered a flop. It was criticized for its mainstream pop-oriented sound, and Dr. Dre himself talks about the struggles he faced when trying to put this album together.
When we were doing that record, it was a lot of problems in the studio because I only spent maybe 4 days in the studio with the artist, and we were supposed to make a record within these 4 days, the whole album, you know what I'm saying? Nas was cool, he came in and did his thing. Foxy, she missed like 5 airplanes or something to get into the studio. She shows up to the studio, she's in there like 1 hour. That's the reason why that record wasn't as successful as we planned.
So both of these artists were going through a tough time, but this is where the story starts to take a turn for the better, when their paths finally cross. While Dr. Dre was looking for a new artist to work with, he happened to hear Eminem's demo and decided to give him a shot. He brings Eminem to his studio with an idea for a beat that he thinks might work for him. He loads the beat up and sees what Eminem can do with it. And that song that they make just after meeting for the first time, it becomes a huge hit. The song I'm talking about is My Name Is.
My name is. My name is. What? My name is. Slim Shady.
This blows up in a way that Eminem never saw coming and in a way that hip-hop had never seen before. It attracted a whole new demographic of people into hip-hop, suburban white kids. They loved Eminem and his music. Now, one obvious explanation for why this happened is because Eminem is white, and this is the common explanation most people give for his success. But I think there's another part to this story that never gets talked about, and that's the production. Dr. Dre did something different with the songs that he produced for Eminem. He used sounds and ideas that appealed to this new audience. Now, you might be wondering what exactly I'm talking about. Well, I'll let Dave Chappelle explain.
You know, all my life I've heard that white people can't dance. I don't believe that. It's just that they like certain musical instruments. That instrument, my friends, is electric guitar.
It's my personal theory that when white people hear electric guitar, they cannot resist the urge to dance, no matter where they are. Okay, folks, here we are in a corporate boardroom. We want to see what happens when you play electric guitar in the most professional of settings. Ready, John?
Now, this is obviously meant to be a funny way of looking at it, but the premise here is that white audiences were used to hearing certain kinds of sounds and instruments in music from genres like punk and rock, namely the electric guitar. And what you'll also notice about many of the songs that Dr. Dre produced for Eminem's album is that he explores this with his production. For example, let's break down how My Name Is was made by first looking at the sample used.
Just a lonely song. Slowly down.
Now what you'll notice is that the way Dr. Dre manipulates this sample makes it sound like an electric guitar. So here's the loop that was used. So the first thing Dr. Dre uses is a gate effect. What this is basically doing is it's taking all the audio underneath this yellow line here and turning the volume all the way down for all this audio. Next, listen to how Dre takes the remaining audio and makes it so much louder. For most producers, they tend to take dense, complex samples and shrink them into a mono space and EQ a lot of frequencies to get them to fit into their beat. But Dr. Dre does the opposite here with the use of compression and distortion. And the use of distortion here really makes this organ start to sound more and more like a guitar. One additional detail that you might have noticed is that the percussion is making this loop sound imbalanced right now. You can hear it's pretty much entirely on the right channel. I'll replay it and you can take a listen to this once again. So what Dr. Dre does is that he flips the entire sample partway through. This helps the beat not sound as imbalanced since the percussion gets flipped all the way from the right to the left halfway through the loop. So this is how the beat that became Eminem's first major hit was made, getting a whole new audience introduced into hip hop. And you can even see this similar approach for the second single off of this album, Role Model, another Dr. Dre produced song. Here again, you see the use of the electric guitar as the central instrument. It's only the third single, Guilty Conscience, where the album starts to go towards something that's a little bit less guitar focused and more hip hop oriented. The beat uses a piano as a core instrument instead. Now, having said that, a guitar still does appear in this beat, it's just made less central. And from here, we see classic Dr. Dre sounds and ideas that come into this beat, like the inclusion of strings and this cool sounding synth here. So this is why I say the production ideas of these Dr. Dre singles, as well as the order that these singles were released, was also what helped Eminem climb to these amazing new heights. This helped attract and acclimate this new audience into a genre that they might have never given a chance before. And it also helped Dr. Dre and Eminem become household names. So comment down below, let me know what you think about this, or if I'm talking straight malarkey with this opinion. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and in the meantime, why not check out this video next to me? It's very good. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.